what began as a cheerful morning chat quickly turned into one of the most uncomfortable live TV moments in recent memory. The Today with Jenna and Friends show was supposed to feature Kylie Kelce in a relaxed, upbeat segment about her upcoming charity initiative and her life as the wife of Philadelphia Eagles center Jason Kelce. Producers had planned a smooth 20-minute discussion, something light and positive. Jenna Bush Hager, ever the gracious host, greeted Kylie warmly, complimenting her appearance and thanking her for joining. Kylie, calm and smiling, was eager to discuss the foundation's efforts to expand youth sports programs in underserved communities. The early part of the conversation went perfectly. Kylie spoke with genuine passion, and Jenna responded with admiration and curiosity. But as the interview progressed, the tone began to shift. Jenna brought up a topic that had been circulating in the media: NFL wives and their public roles. "There's been quite a bit of discussion," Jenna said carefully, "about how vocal some NFL wives have become and whether that sometimes crosses boundaries." The question seemed innocent enough, but Kylie's smile tightened. "Supporting your spouse is normal, don't you think?" she replied evenly. Jenna pressed further, noting that some football wives were becoming almost as famous as their husbands, sometimes even overshadowing the players themselves. The air in the studio grew heavier. Kylie paused before answering, her voice firm but controlled. "Every family handles public attention differently," she said. "Some are more private, some more open. There's no right or wrong way." Yet Jenna wouldn't let go. "When the focus shifts from athletes to their personal lives," she continued, "doesn't that take away from what the players have achieved?" That was the breaking point. Kylie straightened in her seat, her tone turning sharp. "Are you suggesting that wives supporting their husbands somehow take away from their accomplishments? Because that sounds like an outdated way of thinking." The studio audience stirred. Even the camera crew seemed to sense the rising tension. Jenna, realizing she might have gone too far, tried to backpedal. No, that's not what I mean. I just think it's an interesting conversation about visibility." But Kylie wasn't convinced. "So now women supporting their husbands are a distraction?" she shot back. "That's really what we're going with here?" The atmosphere was thick with unease. Jenna's co-hosts exchanged uneasy glances, and producers behind the cameras hesitated. Should they cut to commercial or let it play out? Jenna tried once more to regain control. "Kylie, I think we're getting off track. I only meant to discuss how families balance public and private life." But Kylie leaned back, crossing her arms, her voice cutting through the silence. "Let me be very clear," she said coldly. "I came here to talk about our foundation, about helping kids get access to sports. Instead, you want to debate whether I'm too visible as a supportive wife. Is that really what morning television has come to?" Jenna looked visibly uncomfortable, her practiced composure slipping as the room fell silent. Moments later, Kylie stood, thanked the audience curtly, and walked off set, leaving Jenna and her co-hosts speechless. What began as a light-hearted segment about charity had turned into a viral moment that would dominate headlines, sparking fierce debate about women, media scrutiny, and respect in the public eye. "It wasn't meant to be personal," Jenna tried to say, but Kylie's composure was already slipping. "It is personal," she fired back, her voice tight with frustration. "When you sit there and suggest that wives being supportive is somehow a distraction or a problem, you're making it personal. You're basically telling me that I should sit quietly in the background so I don't interfere with my husband's career." The tension in the studio grew thick. Jenna's co-hosts exchanged worried glances, one of them quickly stepping in to steer the conversation back to safer ground. "Maybe we should talk more about the foundation Kylie mentioned earlier," they offered gently. It sounds like such an important initiative, but Kylie wasn't ready to move on. Her focus stayed locked on Jenna. "No, I think we should finish this conversation," she said firmly. "Apparently there's some kind of standard that NFL wives are supposed to meet, and I'd love to know exactly what that is. Should we not attend games? Should we not celebrate our husband's successes? Should we pretend we don't exist?" Jenna's confident smile faltered as her cheeks flushed. "That's not what I was suggesting at all," she stammered. "I was asking a broader question about the role of family members in professional sports." Kylie gave a sharp, skeptical laugh. "A broader question, right? So when you talk about certain wives becoming too famous and overshadowing their husbands, that's just a general observation? You're not talking about anyone specific?" The studio had gone silent. Even the audience seemed frozen, holding their breath as the two women faced off. Jenna took a deep breath, her tone softening. Look, I think there's been a miscommunication here. My intention was never to criticize you or anyone else. I just wanted to have a thoughtful discussion about a topic that's been in the media. Kylie laughed bitterly. Miscommunication, that's one way to put it. Another would be to say that you invited me on your show under false pretenses, just so you could ambush me about whether I'm an appropriate NFL wife. Jenna's own patience snapped. That's not fair, Kylie, and you know it, she said sharply. I've been doing this job for years. I pride myself on asking thoughtful questions. If you can't handle a discussion about your public profile, maybe you shouldn't have agreed to come on television. The words landed like a slap. The air in the room changed instantly. Kylie stared at Jenna in disbelief before responding in a dangerously quiet tone. Excuse me, did you just tell me I can't handle being on television because I objected to your inappropriate questions? Jenna realized her mistake immediately and tried to walk it back. That's not what I meant. I'm just saying public figures have to expect difficult questions. But Kylie didn't let her off the hook. Difficult questions about my charity work? Sure, about helping disadvantaged kids. Fine, but I didn't come here to be lectured on how to be a proper NFL wife by someone who's never been married to a professional athlete. That jab clearly stung. Jenna's professionalism began to slip. I don't need to be married to an athlete to comment on what's happening in the sports world, she retorted. And frankly, some of the behavior we've seen from certain NFL families has been over the top and attention-seeking. Kylie's expression hardened. There it is, she said coldly, sitting up straight. Now we're getting to the real issue. You think I'm attention-seeking. You think my support for my husband is over the top. You think I need to learn my place so I don't embarrass myself or the NFL, right? At that point, the co-hosts were visibly panicking, glancing toward the producers for help. One of them nervously suggested a commercial break, but neither woman acknowledged it. The two were locked in a battle of wills. Jenna, realizing she was losing control, doubled down. I never said you needed to learn your place, she said, her voice tight. But I do think there's value in maintaining some boundaries between personal and professional life. When family members become bigger stories than the games themselves, it changes the focus of the sport. That was the final straw. Kylie stood abruptly, her chair sliding backward across the floor. Unbelievable, she said, her voice shaking with anger. Absolutely unbelievable. My husband works his entire life to become one of the best centers in the NFL, and this is what you want to talk about? The room was electric with tension. Kylie stood with her hands on her hips, glaring down at Jenna. You invited me on this show because you thought I'd be an easy target. You thought I'd just smile and nod and give you some sound bites about knowing my role. Jenna's face flushed crimson as she snapped back. That is not true. I invited you here because I thought our viewers would be interested in hearing about your foundation and your life in the NFL. Kylie gave a sharp, mocking laugh. My life in the NFL? Right. And apparently my perspective is wrong because I actually show up and support my husband instead of sitting quietly in the background like some kind of decorative accessory. The producers were now signaling frantically from behind the cameras, desperate to cut the feed or cue a break. But the two women were far beyond control. I never called you a decorative accessory. Jenna shot back, her voice rising. You're twisting everything I've said. I was trying to have a nuanced conversation about the intersection of personal and professional life in sports. Kylie's laugh cut through the air like glass. Nuanced? There's nothing nuanced about implying that supportive wives are distractions or attention seekers. There's nothing nuanced about suggesting that we should stay in our lane and let the men handle the important stuff. I did not say that, Jenna insisted, but it was too late. Kylie's glare was unwavering. You absolutely did, she said firmly. And now you're just trying to backtrack because you realize how it sounds. But here's the thing, Jenna. Kylie stood her ground, her voice steady but charged with emotion. I don't need your approval or anyone else's approval to support my husband, she said firmly. I don't need permission to be excited about his success or to celebrate his achievements. The tension in the studio was palpable. One of the co-hosts attempted to diffuse the situation, her tone pleading for calm. Kylie, I think there might be some misunderstanding here. Maybe we can find some common ground and have a more productive conversation. Kylie turned toward her her expression softening slightly, though her words remained resolute. "The only misunderstanding here," she said, "is that I came on this show expecting to be treated with basic respect. Instead, I've been subjected to questions that seem designed to make me defend my right to exist as a supportive spouse." Jenna, visibly flustered but unwilling to back down, tried to justify her line of questioning. "Look, I think you're being overly sensitive about this," she said. "These are legitimate questions that people in the media and fans have been discussing. I'm not the first person to notice that some NFL wives have become very high profile." The word sensitive struck a nerve. Kylie's eyes flashed and she stepped closer to Jenna's chair. "Overly sensitive?" she repeated, her voice sharp with anger. "So now I'm overly sensitive because I don't appreciate being ambushed with sexist talking points disguised as journalism?" "They're not sexist talking points," Jenna protested weakly. "Oh, they're not," Kylie shot back, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "So if this was about male family members of athletes, you'd be asking the same questions? If Tom Brady's father spoke publicly about supporting his son, would you be questioning whether he was too attention-seeking? Would you suggest he was overshadowing Tom's achievements?" The question lingered in the air and Jenna's silence was deafening. The studio audience sat frozen, watching as the power dynamic shifted completely. Kylie nodded slightly, her voice now low but steady. "That's what I thought. This whole conversation has been about putting women in their place, about suggesting we should be seen and not heard. Well, I have news for you, Jenna. I'm not going to sit here and let you lecture me about how to be a proper NFL wife." Jenna tried one last time to recover. "Kylie, I think you're mischaracterizing what I was trying to do here. I have enormous respect for you and all NFL families. I was just trying to explore an interesting topic that's been in the news." "An interesting topic?" Kylie repeated, disgust clear in her voice. "That's what you call questioning whether supportive wives are appropriate? That's what you call suggesting we're distractions and attention seekers? Some topic?" The co-hosts exchanged panicked glances, realizing the segment had gone completely off the rails. The audience sat in awkward silence, many shifting uncomfortably as the confrontation unfolded live before them. "I think we should take a commercial break," one of the co-hosts suggested nervously, but neither woman paid attention. Kylie began gathering her purse and jacket with deliberate, sharp movements. "You know what, Jenna?" she said, her tone controlled but cutting. "I came here in good faith to talk about helping kids and supporting community programs. Instead, I've been subjected to a thinly veiled attack on my character and my marriage." "It wasn't an attack," Jenna murmured, though her voice lacked conviction. "It absolutely was," Kylie replied, slinging her purse over her shoulder. "And the fact that you can't even acknowledge that makes it worse. You've wasted my time, your viewers' time, and shown exactly what kind of journalist you really are." Jenna's professional mask finally cracked. "I don't think that's fair, Kylie. I've been doing this for years and I've always conducted myself professionally." "Professionally?" Kylie echoed, turning back to face her one last time. "Is that what you call this? Because from where I'm standing, this looks like amateur hour masquerading as journalism." The room fell silent. The energy drained from the air as Kylie adjusted her jacket, regaining her composure. When she spoke again, her tone was calm, confident, and final. "Here's what I want your viewers to understand," she said, looking directly into the camera. "I am proud of my husband. I am proud of his achievements. I am proud to support him, and I'll continue to do so, no matter what anyone thinks. If that makes me too visible or too vocal for some people, that's their problem, not mine." Jenna, desperate to salvage control, tried once more. "Kylie, please. I think we can work through this misunderstanding. Why don't you sit back down, and we can have a more constructive conversation?" Kylie turned to her, her expression resolute and disappointed. "There's no misunderstanding here," she said firmly. "You know exactly what you were trying to do, and so does everyone else in the studio. You thought you could use me to make a point about NFL wives, but when I pushed back, you doubled down instead of admitting you were wrong." With that, Kylie turned and walked off the set, leaving Jenna and the stunned audience in silence as the cameras cut abruptly to commercial. The co-hosts sat frozen in their chairs, unsure whether to intervene or simply let the tension reach its inevitable conclusion. The audience was silent, every eye fixed on the confrontation unfolding before them, a live television moment already cementing itself in history. Kylie's voice broke through the stillness, steady and unwavering. "I want to be very clear about something," she began, her words echoing across the studio. "I don't owe anyone an explanation for how I choose to support my family. I don't owe anyone an apology for being visible, vocal, or enthusiastic about my husband's career. And I certainly don't owe anyone the courtesy of sitting quietly while they question my motivations and my character." Jenna's face had drained of color, her confidence completely gone. When she finally spoke, her voice trembled. "I never questioned your character, Kylie." Kylie's reply was immediate, sharp, and undeniable. "You absolutely did. When you suggested that I was attention-seeking, you questioned my character. When you implied that my support was somehow inappropriate or over the top, you questioned my character. And when you told me I couldn't handle difficult questions, you questioned my character." Each accusation landed like a blow, and Jenna visibly recoiled beneath the weight of the truth. Behind the cameras, producers were frantically signaling for a commercial break, but it was clear that nothing could stop this moment now. "I think what's most disappointing about this whole experience," Kylie continued, stepping closer to the edge of the stage, "is that you had a real opportunity today to have a meaningful conversation about the work we're doing to help kids and underserved communities. You could have used this platform to highlight important issues, maybe even inspire viewers to get involved in something good." She paused, letting the silence stretch before finishing, her tone cutting but calm. "Instead, you chose to waste everyone's time with questions designed to make me look bad and to reinforce outdated stereotypes about how women should behave. That's not journalism, Jenna. That's mean-spirited gossip dressed up as serious television." One of the co-hosts, desperate to salvage something from the chaos, interjected softly. "Kylie, before you go, is there anything you'd like to say about the foundation work you mentioned earlier?" For a brief moment, Kylie's expression softened, and the warmth that had been overshadowed by confrontation returned to her face. "Talking about helping children, that's what really matters," she said, her tone gentle but impassioned. "Our foundation is doing incredible work, and we're always looking for more people to get involved. Every kid deserves access to sports and activities, no matter their financial situation. We're trying to make that happen in as many communities as possible." Turning to the camera, she continued with sincerity that silenced the entire studio. "If anyone watching wants to learn more or help, visit our website. Because at the end of the day, that's what truly matters. Not whether I'm too vocal or too visible, but whether we're making a difference in kids' lives." The genuine emotion in her voice contrasted sharply with the bitterness that had defined the earlier exchange. Jenna sat in stunned silence, clearly realizing too late that she had squandered an opportunity to use her platform for something meaningful. Kylie began to walk toward the edge of the stage, her decision to leave final and unshakable. As she reached the steps, she turned back one last time, her voice carrying a quiet note of disappointment rather than anger. "You know what, Jenna? I actually feel sorry for you. You had a chance to do real journalism today, to highlight important work and maybe make a positive impact. Instead, you chose to attack a woman for supporting her husband. I hope it was worth it." With those words, Kelce descended the steps and walked off the stage, leaving behind a studio engulfed in heavy silence. Jenna sat motionless, visibly struggling to process what had just happened, while her co-hosts exchanged helpless glances. One of them finally stammered something about taking a commercial break, but the damage had already been done. Everyone in that studio and everyone watching at home knew they had just witnessed a moment that would be replayed, discussed, and debated for months to come. The explosive confrontation between Kelce and Jenna Bush Hager served as a stark reminder of what happens when journalism crosses the line from tough questioning into personal attack. What do you think? Was Kylie right to stand her ground and walk off, or should she have handled it differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and stay tuned for more unforgettable on-air moments that had everyone talking.